Hi everyone, I'm Geeta. I have overall 10 years of IT experience and 4 years of experience into corporate training. I've been part of many organizations like LatentView, Deloitte, EY, and HSBC. Currently working as a manager in HSBC, experience with multiple data and analytics tools like ClickView, ClickSense, Tableau, and currently working on Microsoft Power BI. Worked on different domains like sales, finance, HR, supply chain management, and banking. Apart from these, I do have exposure with SQL and Azure. Hi everyone, I'm Geeta. In today's video, we'll be discussing about the basic understanding of data modeling, which is nothing but Power Pivot. And before going into that, we'll see what is the difference between Power Query and Power Pivot. So Power Query is an inbuilt ETL tool which is there in Power BI desktop. So in this, we will be loading the data and doing transformations. Transformations means, for example, I have some raw data which I collected from other source, and the data is not ready to be used in the report. There has to be some data cleansing that is required on the data. In that case, what we will do is we will transform the data using Power Query Editor. Maybe some kind of transformations will be applied, like removing unwanted rows or columns or adding any necessary columns, grouping, merging, or appending. And there are other steps also, like on the UI wise also, like if we want to change any column names, duplicate columns also we can create, conditional columns also we can create it. It is the call of the developer that whatever the transformations he wants to do in the Power Query editor with the data. And once the Power Query editor work is done, it means the data is now clean and it is ready to be used in the report. Then actually we can start off with the Power BI report development, but before doing that, in between there has to be data modeling. What is data modeling? Data modeling is nothing but the Power Pivot in which we are creating the relationships between the tables. There are multiple tables. We'll be creating the relationships among them so that whatever the reports we are developing on the canvas, on the page, in the report view, the data should be accurate and it should be correct, should match with the raw data, the counts or the values. That is what we have to do as a Power BI developer. We have to make sure that the data should be correct. It should be matching against the raw data. The counts, everything has to be matched with the raw data. Okay. So what is data modeling? See, there are three things. First, we need to understand what is data modeling, why it is needed, and when it is needed. We know what is data modeling. What is data modeling? It is nothing but creating the relationships among tables. And why it is needed, we will see in few minutes why it is needed. What will happen if we do not have any data modeling? Okay. And when it is needed, once we are done with Power Query editor transformations, or whenever you are loading data into Power BI, if you feel nothing, no transformations are required on my data, I can just use it in the report development, then you can go for data modeling. And this is the heart of the data, Power BI report development. Data modeling is the core of the Power BI report development. Why I'm saying, we will see. So let me load my data into Power BI. I have a sample data with me. We will see how do we create the data modeling and why it is needed also. Okay. I have three tables in my Excel file. I have Excel file. There are three tables: customer, product, and my sales table. It is loading. I have my data in Excel. So this is my Excel data. The data is getting loaded into Power BI desktop. I have these three tables: customer, product, sales. Okay. If you see, there are two options here: load. When we click load, when we are sure that data is clean and it is ready to be used in the report development, then we can click on load. Transform data, when there are things to be cleaned, we have to do some kind of transformations, then you can go for transform data. By clicking on this, it will be navigating to the Power Query editor where you can do transformations. As you can see here, there are many options, many things we can do. We can transform, add columns, add index, duplicate columns, or functions also we can write. This is a separate thing. We are not discussing those things in this video, but I'm just explaining because some people get confused with what is Power Query and Power Pivot. Both looks similar. I mean, they assume like that. So that's why I just want to show the difference between these two. I have, see, just to understand, I had added one space here. So it is coming column 1, 2, 3 as headers, but these are not my headers. These are my headers: customer ID, name, and location. These are my original column headers. So what I can do is use first row as headers so that my rows will be set. Close and apply. My tables will be loaded into Power BI desktop. These 3 tables are getting loaded, and data model is nothing but all my tables together is called my model. Okay, if you see here on the left side, there are 3 tabs. This is my report view, data view, and model view. So in this model view, we have all the 3 tables. Actually, this is my, here I've taken only the dummy data. So we have less tables, but in real time, there will be many tables, and data modeling will take its, I mean, a lot of time. So you have to be careful when you're creating data modeling, and data modeling has to be in a proper manner. Otherwise, the results which we see on the report may not be accurate. Okay. So this is my data. Data is nothing but my data model where I can see all the tables. For now, after loading the data, I do not see any relationships here. Intentionally, I did not even create also, because we need to understand why data model is required, right? For the second point, which I mentioned in the earlier discussion. This is my customer table. I have 3 columns: customer ID, customer name, location, product ID, product name, and price. In sales table, I have transaction ID, product ID, quantity, customer ID. I do not have any sales column here, and we will create in the sales table. Okay, so I want to create a table. And one more thing I want to mention here. Earlier, in recent versions of Power BI Desktop, there are many UI level changes I've done. So this data view and filter data format, these are moved into this view tab. But earlier we used to have here. So that is one thing. You might be using older versions, so don't get confused. You will be seeing all these visuals on this top. Okay. So I just selected a table here. I can add the data from here, or else I can just drag and drop also from this one. So I want to see product name. One more column I want to add. I do not have sales, so I just want to see sum of quantity. Okay. So what it is giving? It is giving me product name and sum of quantity. It is not the quantity per product. How many? Actually, what I want to say is how many number of products have been sold. So how many A products have been sold? I want to see. But what it is returning? The sum of all products, quantity of all products that are sold till now. Okay, but this is not what I want. So okay, maybe it is showing because I have used sum. Let me say do not summarize. It may give correct result. No, it is saying we cannot display the visual. Why? Cannot determine relationships between the fields. It is clearly saying can't determine the relationships between the fields. Cannot display the data because Power BI cannot determine the relationship between two or more fields. Why it is saying? Because product name I dragged it from product table, quantity is in my sales table. There is no relationship. So how can I get the data from two different tables if there is no relationship? That is what it is saying. That's why I cannot display any data in this visual. So we need to fix the issue. To fix the issue, what we have to do? We need to create the relationship. Otherwise, data will not be populated in the chart. Okay. This is where data modeling comes into the picture. So between these two tables, I have to create the relationship. For now, I am not creating with this because I have used fields from this table, product table and sales table. So just a brief about my tables I have here. These two are called dimension tables. Sales is my fact table. So dimension tables are nothing but which are having the dimensional attributes. Means, for example, I have customer table where I have customer name, customer location, or I can have some customer phone number, customer email ID, customer address, home address, age, date of birth. Those details I can have. So all these are related to a dimension, particular dimension. Here it is the customer. And product is also one of the dimension table where I have product ID, product name, and price of the each product. What is my price? Let's say I have 10 products. For each product, price may get changed. It is not same, right? So price is also there. And in this customer table, customer ID is my primary key. Why I'm saying primary key? Because customer ID is identifying each row in the customer table, each record in a customer table with a unique value, right? It is not duplicated, and it is not containing any null value also. It should be unique and doesn't contain any null value. That is the reason I'm calling it as primary key. And this primary key will be connected to my fact table, customer ID in the sales table. Okay. So this is the primary key in customer table. The same customer ID will be called as foreign key in my fact table. This is foreign key because this is primary key in dimension table, but here I'm using this key to connect back with the dimension table. That is why it is called as the foreign key. Based on this reference, I'm able to connect with my customer table, right? The same way I have product ID, and this product ID is primary key in my product table. Dimension tables are also called as the master tables. Okay. So here from product ID to product ID, I can create the relationship. Let me create relationship. To create the relationship, we can directly drag and drop from here this table. I have less columns, so I just dragged and dropped there on the same column. Otherwise, you can also click on manage relationships. Here it will be opening what are all the tables we have and the relationships we have. It is already created. When it is already created, if you want to edit, you can go click on edit, or if you want to have any new relationship, you can also create the new relationship. I want to create from customer based on customer ID to my sales table based on customer ID. Okay. So cardinality, it is asking, there are 4 cardinalities we have, but remember always in Power BI, from dimension to fact, it should be 1 to many always, because dimension table is nothing but there should be only unique row for each ID. So for example, for customer ID, there should be 1 row. There should not be any duplicates. So it should be 1 to many. Many is, this is 1 indicating the dimension table. Many is indicating the fact table. 1 to star, here it represents many. So what it is saying, from dimension, from customer to sales table, I have one-to-many relationship. It means, in general, it is saying for one customer, it may sales table, it may have multiple transactions for that customer. Maybe there are customers who have bought multiple products or multiple times the same product also they can buy, right? So it will create one single transaction for each purchase. Okay, in that case, customer will be same. It will be repeated, but the transaction ID gets changed. Okay, if you see here, customer one is same, but the transaction ID is different and the product is also different. Customer one has bought P2 and P3. Okay, two different products. So it is one customer to multiple customer IDs here. So C1 is only one in my customer table, but it is repeating multiple times. That is why it is saying the cardinality is one to many. And direction is single, because I want to filter my fact table based on the dimension table values. If I want to select location in any of the slicer, if I want to have location slicer on the report, if I select Hyderabad, this filter has to be going to sales table and filter sales table on fact table. Always dimension table will be filtering the fact table. That is why it is giving single. Both also we have, but both is when we will select both is when we want to have the filter propagation from both the sides. If I want to filter from customer to sales and sales to customer, in that case we can go for both direction. For now I can select only single. See, this is active, and there might be inactive relationships, because in Power BI we can create one active relationship between two tables at a time. We cannot have more than one active relationship at a time in two tables. Okay, that is why now I do not have any inactive relationships. That's fine. I'm just explaining. See, this is also been generated. And now if you go to report view, the quantity is coming correct. It has been filtered, calculated, and it is populating in the table. So it is saying there are 4 quantity of jet products have been sold. Okay, in the sales table. So you might get an idea why data modeling is required, because if there is no data modeling, data would not be populated in the report. If there is no relationship on multiple tables. Okay, so that is the reason we need to, if that is coming also, that is not the correct, because earlier we were getting data 18 all over the table, it was showing 18, but that was not a great result, right? That is not what we wanted. We want the correct result. We are going to match back with the raw data or the source data. It has to match, then only we will say it is correct. So when we are creating data model, we have to make sure that the data model is proper and it is efficient, so that there should not be any complexity and there should not be any ambiguity. Otherwise, we will get inaccurate results. Okay, now I want to add one more column here, the total sales. But I do not have any sales column in my sales table, but I have price column in product. So let me add that. Okay. See, now I have 3 into 30. For example, 3 into 30 is there. So I have to get total sales amount should be 90 for this jet row. Okay. But directly I cannot calculate. I know how to calculate. Quantity into price will be my sales amount. But how can Power BI know that that is the sales amount that has to be calculated? That is where exactly we will go for data modeling. Okay, we can create a column in Power Query Editor also, that is also fine, but we have two different tables having two different columns there. Price is in product table and quantity is in sales table. So in that case, we can create a column or a measure. Okay, so data modeling is not only about creating relationships, it is also about adding any extra objects to the data model. For example, creating measures or columns or new tables also. We have these options. So it is going to add the measures or columns or tables to the existing data model. Okay, so data modeling is not just creating relationships. It is about adding new objects to the data model based on our requirements. It is our call to decide whether we need to create a measure or a column or in a table based on the requirement. Okay, so let's just create a measure for this. I'm going to create a measure. Either you can create by clicking here, or I want to create a measure for sales table. So I'm giving a new measure name. I'm giving a sales measure. Okay, what my formula is quantity into price. So I'm just in Power BI, when we are typing any of the names or fields names or table names, automatically we would be getting the intelligence of those available fields or tables. But here it is not coming. Why? Because when we are creating any measure, we cannot directly reference to any column. We cannot directly use any column because measure is nothing but the calculation of an aggregated value. If we can write sum, then you can see quantity I got. But this is not my requirement, right? I have to get the quantity into price. This is not my value, right? I cannot do sum into sum of price. I can do, but the value which is returning is not at all valid because quantity is different for each and every product and price is also varies among the products. So I cannot do this as well. For this, particular scenario, we have to go for a column only because for each row in the sales, what is my sales amount? Right? For each transaction ID, what is my sales amount? That quantity has to be multiplied with the price of that product. My price is there in the product table. So let me go for creating a column only. New column. I'm giving name as sales amount. What I want to do is quantity. See, if you create any column, it is giving the column or field names because column will be evaluated at each row level. That is the reason we can always refer to a specific column when we are writing for column. Okay, and into price I want. But here why I can't reference to the price column in product table? Because when we are creating new column to specifically to a sales table and price is not there in the sales table, we cannot directly call that price column because it is not available uh, within the area of sales table. It is out of that. It is somewhere else in the table, other table, right? So what I can do is I can look up for that particular price based on the product ID we have. We have a common column product ID. So based on product ID, what it is asking, resultant column name. What I want the price of the product, comma, search column. What I have to search? I have to search for the product ID. And with what value I have to match? My sales product ID. Okay. So just want to explain one more time. I do not have any price column in sales table, so I cannot directly reference to that price column in the product table. Instead of that, what I can do is I can get the price of the product based on the product ID, because I already have the product ID in both the tables. So I'm saying the Power BI to take this product ID from sales table, search in this product ID column in product table, and return the price of the product ID corresponding to this product ID if it is matching. Okay. So, and multiply with that price into quantity I have. So I got this one. Let me add that into the table. Now I have got sum of sales amount. So it is coming correct now. 3 into 30, which is 90. The total sales amount is 373. Okay. So data modeling is needed because sometimes what happens, whatever the existing fields or the calculations we have in the source data, those are not enough to present in the report. If you are limiting yourself with whatever the data we have, we just want to give it on the report, that doesn't give any it doesn't give any proper analysis. We cannot do the proper analysis. So users might expect few other things as well. They want to have some customization. They will be having multiple scenarios. There might be complex uh, requirements they have. Those are not available in our source data. In that case, we have to create either measures or columns and sometimes tables as well by using DAX. So data modeling is nothing but creating relationships as well as adding any new DAX expressions or measures, columns or tables based on the DAX expressions, DAX functions we have already available in Power BI. We are adding those into the existing data model. Hope you understand what is data model clearly. And now along with this, I want to have one more table, one more chart. Okay, I want to see customer wise sales. This is my customer table, customer name. Sorry, not here. I don't want here. This one, customer name and this sales amount. Wow, so it is coming correct now. Sum of sales amount for customer name Ram is 156. Geeta, it is 100. So like that it is giving. As I have created a column, I can use it directly in my charts. Earlier what was happening? Before we were having sum of sales amount, this column, this sales amount column, we were not able to see where is my sales, total sales amount. So we had to create a column or a measure, right? Based on the requirement. So now I have this one. I can use anywhere if I want to look into the charts by customer wise or location wise or product wise. However I want, I can see for that sales amount. Okay. And if I want to see only for Ram, when you're filtering here, whatever the products associated with that particular customer, those are filtered here because we have the data modeling already built among these tables. That is the reason we were able to see only those products for that particular customer. Here Ram has bought Z and Y products. Okay, and the total sales amount is 156. Quantity is 6. Okay, this is one thing. And for example, I have a location slicer over here. Let me add one more slicer. Just want to show how the data modeling is working, how the data modeling is helping the Power BI to get the results accurate. Because when we were not having any relationships, we were getting the invalid data. But when we have the data modeling, automatically it is filtering. See, it is filtering those two charts because we already have the data modeling. That is why I'm saying data modeling is very important and it is heart of the Power BI report development. So once your Power BI data modeling is correct, then whatever the data which is shown in the report should be correct. It has to match with the source data. Okay. So for now, when I'm selecting Hyderabad, I can see who are the customers I have and products. What all the products have been sold in Hyderabad location. And this location, how it is working, because location is in my customer table, right? And sales amount is in my sales table. So what we are saying in the data model, in the customer table, go to location, I've selected HYD, and that particular Hyderabad customers, it will filter and it will go to sales table for those customer IDs which are being filtered in this particular table. Internally, this all process has been done at the back end by Power BI engine so that it will take only those customer IDs and it will show those customer names again to the Hyderabad location. So for those, whatever the customer IDs we have, for those, it is calculating the sales amount and rendering in the report. That is the reason this is all happened in the backend. We are not doing anything manually to calculate or to filter the data. We have just created the relationship and the magic is happening at the backend. Power BI is able to filter the data based on the filter selections which we have done on the slicer. Either we can slice the filter options here or we can apply the filters over here also. Anything works fine. So this is all about the basic understanding of data model. In the futures videos, we'll be looking in depth of the data modeling concepts. Thank you.